ahead if you have your bolster, go ahead and sit up on the bolster to start. If you don't, just take a couple more blankets, sit up higher than you normally would to begin with. That's what I want. Hi, Kristen. So when you do sit up a little bit higher, a lot of nice things happen automatically is that you get a little bit more automatic release in the groin. Now I'm up on a bolster, and for me, it's nice to get the release in the groin, and I can feel a little bit more lift in the chest and release in the lower back. Hey, Sugi. But I can feel it's a little bit high, so my knees are actually kind of pulling me a little bit forward. So I'm going to take a little bit of blanket and put it between my feet and my knees. And so if you feel like because you took the extra height that's happening to you, you can do that as well. That's a little harder to turn the feet when you're sitting up higher, but you can still easily adjust your calf flesh up toward the ceiling and adjust your thigh flesh from the inside out. So that should move your sitting bones in, and you should feel that lift come all the way up into the chest. And lengthen up through the side ribs so that the lift doesn't just come into the center part of the chest, but really comes up through the whole torso. Then keeping that height and keeping the width in the collarbones, roll the shoulder bones back. Bring the shoulder blades closer together, away from the neck and into the body and up a little bit so you feel that chest lift. And you should also feel your trapezius muscles release down away from the neck. Then join your palms together, put your thumbs right at the center of your sternum. And normally I just say push up with your thumbs. But before you do that this time, actually pull your thumbs slightly downward, like they're creating a little bit of pressure on your chest. And then lift up into the thumbs after having done that. And you may feel that you get a little bit more opening or work that way in the chest. Then with your forearms, lift your rib cage up so you feel, again, that lift becoming a little bit broader out to the edges of the collarbones. And then lift with your thumbs again so you really feel that trapezius muscle release. And then close your eyes, almost like the eyes are drawing inward and the trapezius muscles relaxing downward in the same motion. So you begin that movement inward of the consciousness. We begin that movement really by adjusting the physical body first. That movement inward intensifies when we use the breath as a tool for the involution of consciousness. So as you inhale, make yourself taller from the tailbone all the way up through the head. Keep that height, and as you exhale, draw the prana, or the energy of the breath, outward toward your side ribs and armpits. Inhale, make yourself tall. Keep that height. Exhale, make yourself broad. Inhale, extend yourself. Exhale, expand yourself. Having used the breath to create additional inner spaciousness, turn your awareness to the exhalation and follow the exhalation with your mind. Like it's a pathway or a thread you can follow from the outer world more deeply in. Particularly focus on the pause at the end of the exhalation and let your mind take on the qualities of that pause. So your mind becomes more serene, more sattvic, more still. And from that still place within, let's chant 3 Oms together. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And from that space, inhale once more. Keeping your chest well lifted and broad, bring your chin down to your chest and your hands down to your thighs with your palms up. And then raise your head and open your eyes. Let me see who else came in there. Radhika, Kristen. Oh, Kristen. Welcome. All right. Sit up straight and tall. I said hello to everyone, I believe. Go ahead and stretch your arms out and interlace your fingers. Turn your palms toward me. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones. Get your arms straight and move your shoulder bones back into the socket. Then reach your arms all the way up above your head. Press the feet down and energetically lift the ankles up, and you'll feel the femur bones moving more into the socket. And then lengthen up through your side ribs by reaching your wrists all the way up toward the ceiling. Try and get your arms even straighter, everyone. Suck your elbows in. Try and move your arms back behind your ears. And then bring your arms all the way down. Feel that lift that come into the chest from doing that. Switch the grip of your fingers. Turn your palms toward me. And so you're going to draw up from the outer femurs into the socket. We're going to work a lot on that today. And your shoulder bones go into the socket as well. And maintaining that work of the shoulder bone moving into the socket and the femur bones moving into the socket. Create extension. We create that extension by pushing the feet down and lifting up through the wrists. Okay, so both the arms and the legs work to help us get extension through the whole sides of the torso. See if you can get your arms a little bit straighter, suck the elbows in, extend through the wrist bones, and then release your hands all the way down. Then take your blanket out of the way and switch the cross of your legs. Yeah. And engage the quadriceps well between the sides. And then bring your legs back, crossed. And if you're using the blanket roll, you can put the blanket roll in. Sit up straight and tall. Make your calf flesh and thigh flesh adjustments if you feel like that's worthwhile attention of your time. All right, then hook one thumb over the other thumb. Pull your thumbs against each other and stretch through your ring fingers. So for a lot of people, it's easier to get the arms straight in this position. So pull your thumbs against each other as you stretch up through your ring fingers. Also notice where you feel this particular hand-shoulder stretch affects the shoulder blades a little bit differently. I feel this one more right up at the top part of the shoulder blades. And bring your arms down. That's good, Ryan. That works better for you getting your arms straight in this position. But really pull the thumbs, switch the cross, and then everyone really pull your thumbs against each other. And at the same time, stretch through your ring fingers. Now pull your shoulder bones back into the socket as you reach your arms all the way up. Now the whole shoulder can lift up toward the ears and get the arms open, but keep your trapezius moving away from the neck. And reach up again. Pull your thumbs against each other. And then release your hands down. And then stretch your legs out. You can engage your quadriceps well as you're sitting here in Dandasana. All right. Go ahead and come into downward facing dog. Well, you sit back down on the bolster and do some more hip opening. But after that shoulder work, I just wanted to see the effect of that on the first downward facing dog. So spread your palms well. Yeah. This is something Abhijata taught last week. Lift one hand up off the floor and spread the palm again. And see how you can get more spread when it's in the air element. And then put that hand back down. Okay? And then notice the difference between the right hand that you might have lifted up and the left hand. Okay? My left hand is kind of shrunken, even though I was doing a good job of spreading it. Okay, so I thought it was. So lift the other hand up and see if you can get more spread in the hands and the fingers when you're not kind of stuck on the floor sticky mat, and then put the hand back down. And turn your biceps so that they face toward the screen. Turn your toes under, and then push back into downward facing dog. So for me, that first shoulder stretch, I feel more in the side armpit and a little bit more in the thoracic spine. The second one, I feel on the top of the shoulder blade more. But I'm feeling the good effect of both of those shoulder stretches on my first downward facing dog of the day. Well, it's actually not my first dog, but it's the first dog of class. All right, and then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back. And come all the way up. Good. Go ahead and just stand in Tadasana. Press your feet down, lift your quadriceps, lift your inner thighs, but also lift up from the outer knees into the outer hips. Okay. So that really helps you get the femur bone into the socket. Lengthen up through the side ribs, roll your shoulder bones back, and stretch through your ring fingers. Now, even as you're stretching out through your ring fingers, there is some movement from the little finger up into the outer shoulder. Okay. And so even though we're extending up, there's also an energetic movement back into the joints. And that's basically what we're gonna work on in various ways today. Okay, so sit back down on your bolster or your additional blanket height. And then have your chair handy or your 2 bricks handy that you're gonna use. And it's gonna be off at a diagonal by your right knee. And take your blanket and you're gonna make a roll with it. You could use a sticky mat also. And then you're gonna put the roll, we've done this several times before, but you're gonna put the roll in front of the bolster that you're sitting on. And then start with your legs kind of out like they're almost doing Upavishtikonasana, maybe not quite that wide. But what's nice when I'm sitting this way, I'm sitting up at a good bit of height, but the blanket is supporting the backs of my thighs, or almost the backs of my knees, but really more the back of the thighs. And that support from underneath and it helps the legs relax, or the groins relax even more. Lengthen up through your side ribs and roll the shoulder bones back, and then put your hands on the bolster, whatever you're sitting on. Spread your palms like you did for downward facing dog. From the elbow, press through the thumb and the first finger, but from that little finger, draw up into the outer shoulders. Think about that same kind of work in the legs. From the inner knee, extend through the big toe side of the foot. From the little toe side of the foot, you draw all the way up into the outer hips. All right, now leave your left leg in in Upavishtikonasana, but bring your right leg in to a version of Baddha Konasana that's moving toward Mula Bandhasana. So the blanket roll is now supporting my ankle. Baddha Konasana means down angle pose. Mula Bandhasana means the root or the mula pose, and the difference between them is you're just more on the tops, the balls of the feet, rather than the little toe side of the foot. So this is kind of this in between Baddha Konasana and Mula Bandhasana. Still draw up from the outer knee into the outer hip. And then do the same thing on the other side. Stretch your legs back out into Upavishta. Spread your palms well. And feel the elbow. So try and imagine or coordinate them in your mind. So there's an extension through the inner leg, okay, and a drawing in through the outer leg that moves the femur bones into the socket. There's an extension from the inner arm, but there's a drawing in from the little toe side of the foot up into the outer shoulder. So really the arms and the legs are working in very similar ways, okay? Regardless of whether the arms are bent or the arms are straight, legs bent, legs straight. You bring the other leg in. And so the ankle should be on the blanket roll, or the outer ankle should be on the blanket roll. And a little bit of the ball of the foot is going to be on the floor. Then from the little toe side of the foot, draw all the way up into the outer hip on both legs. So even though this leg is bent and that leg is straight, the energetic movement of the legs is the same. All right, stretch that leg back out. Spread your palms again. Put your hands on whatever the bolsters you're sitting on. And spread your toes just like you're spreading your fingers. Extend from the inner knee through the inside edge of the leg. From the little toe side of the foot, draw up into the outer hip. From the elbow, extend through the thumb and the first finger. From the little finger, draw up into the outer shoulders and feel how those actions release the groin and open the chest. Okay. Now we're going to bring both legs in. Okay, so bring both legs up into quasi-Mula Bandhasana. Or you could say Baddha Konasana moving toward Mula Bandhasana. All right, now to get the femur bones really to draw in even more, push the heels against each other. Push the balls of the feet against each other. And as you do that, you should feel, the femur bones are moving in, but you should feel width coming in across the front of the pelvis. You can support with your hands if you need to. All right, then your chair should be sort of nearby, or your what do you call blocks. I want to go forward a little bit in this pose. My chair looks giant, I know, but I want to keep the length in the front of the body. Okay? So this is a really hard pose for me to fold forward in, particularly when I'm on this much height. So I have the chair and I'm pushing on the chair with my hands and I'm keeping the priority on lengthening through the front of my body. Right, Ryan, if you can sit up a little bit higher, see if your knees will go down a little bit more, if you have any more height to sit on. But really get length. Now keep pushing through the balls of the feet and the heels as you get lots of extension through the front of the body and feel your groin just opening a little bit more from that little bit of forward bend. Right. And then come back up to the center. Stretch your legs back out into Upavishtakonasana. Give them a little bit of a rest. From the Baddha Konasana. And then come into Baddha Konasana one more time. Now you're going to move the chair off to the diagonal. And I'm up on pretty much height. So when I lean over to the side, I'm really trying to keep length in the front body. I want to not compress my abdominal contents into the legs. Okay? What I'm trying to do is create length from the pubis all the way over to the top of the chest. What I feel like is this hip that's wanting to go with that extension. So I'm actually going to take one of my hands and see if I can lengthen, it's my left knee, but it may look like my right knee, out a little bit more as I extend that torso out in the diagonal. So I'm really creating maximal length. Then come all the way back up to the center. That looks good, everyone. And then do your other side. Lengthen out. Really keep the priority on that length in the front body. I can feel this knee wanting to kind of go with the torso, so I'm going to take my other hand and push or gently lengthen it outward so that groin releases, and then I can get even more extension through the top chest by doing that. All right, and then come all the way back up. Place your hands on the outside of your knees. Stretch your legs out into Dandasana again. And come into downward facing dog again. You can lift your palms up if that was effective for you as a means of pulling down. Turn your triceps, turn your toes under, and then push back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. And feel the effect now of that groin work that we did in the Baddha Konasana on your ability to get the weight of the pose back into your legs more in downward facing dog. Keep your arms straight, push your hands down and forward. Come up onto the balls of the feet, way, way, way high so those femurs move into the sockets. And roll over the balls of the feet and reach the heels way, 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 way back. And then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Okay, we're going to work on a new pose today. Those of you who have your Light on Yoga, it is plate 169 and plate 170. These poses would not be appropriate to do if you were menstruating or if you were pregnant, because you can see there's a lot of pressure here and between the abdomen and the thighs, right? And then it's also for like menstruation, it's too much upside down, right? But this is called Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana 2. Okay? So if either of those things applied to you, what you would do is just do it right side up, right? So you're just gonna be, sitting up on a little bit of height, and you would be having your hands on the chair, so you would be able to do upright Paschimottanasana, right? And you can then go as far forward as you want. And then you could also do the same thing in Upavishtakonasana. You could also add turning, all right? All of those would be fine. Okay, but if you're not in either of those conditions, pregnancy or menstruation, then we're going to try an approach to both of these new nifty poses, and exciting to do a different pose. All right, so you're going to need a belt. And you're gonna lie down. You can actually watch first before you do it along with me, because it is a kind of new thing that we're gonna do. Yeah. So you're gonna bring your legs up, have your feet a little bit apart. Actually, I lied. Have your feet close together. Yeah. Like you're doing Urdhva Prasarita Padasana. Yeah. And you're gonna keep your legs straight. Yeah. And then you're gonna move your legs down a little bit so it's even easier to get the legs straight. Yeah. Then keeping the legs straight, you're gonna pull your legs in toward your abdomen a little bit. But if you feel your legs start to bend, you have to back off, re-straighten the legs, and then pull the legs in, okay? So we're gonna do that a few times. Okay? And then you may find you can get your feet, and if you remember the picture in the book, he's actually got his hands around his ankles. And in the first stage, the lower back is still pretty much on the floor. Okay, so let's try that. His fingers, actually in the book, his fingers are interlaced like this above his ankles. Okay, all right, so let's try it. Lay down on the floor. And put the strap around the balls of the feet. You want your lower back to stay on the floor. Try to get your legs straight here. Yeah, that's it, Chaya. Okay. Now, move like you were doing Urdhva Prasarita Padasana, going your legs down to the floor. Move your legs back away from your head first. Just like you're not even quite going to the 60-degree phase. And isn't it easier to get the legs straight here? Hello, Karen Higgins. All right. Okay, now keep the legs that straight. Pull it, that's it, Melinda. Pull the legs in to 90, and then keeping your legs super, super straight, pull your legs in more toward your torso. Keep the lower back for this one on the ground. And then can you walk your hands up, and maybe you can get your toes. Maybe you can get the outer leg. Maybe you can interlace your fingers and put them around your heels, right? So Ryan, try not to let the buttocks lift up in this stage. Same thing, Sugi. Try and keep the sacrum on the ground. All right, then come back out and let's try it 1 or 2 more times. Release. Again, if you're menstruating, don't pull in like this. You should just be upright, and you can do a couple turns in Dandasana, and then the second time around, you'll switch to Upavishtakonasana. Okay, so come into the 90-degree angle phase 2 first. Get the legs straight. Then to make sure the legs are straight, move the legs back away from your head a little bit. That's it, Mickey. Now really take advantage of that stage and really straighten the legs. And this is looking pretty good. Now keep your legs straight, which means you're gonna have to work harder as you straighten the legs and pull them in, because it takes more work on the legs. And then just see, can you reach up and get your ankles? Maybe. Can you interlace your fingers above your ankles? And then you're pulling your legs towards you without the buttocks coming off the floor in this particular stage. All right, and then release. That was pretty good, everyone. Roll to your side. Let's take a look at the picture again. So it has 2 stages, right? See, we just did the first stage. And can you see on the first stage that his back is really not leaving the ground, right? So, but then look at the second stage, where he's actually trying to get his legs completely parallel with the floor, okay? So his buttocks are up then. Now for me personally, and it's really a lengthening or a rounding in the lower back. Another pose you could do instead of this too would be like Malasana or something, because that would get the same rounding in the lower back, beginning to do that. Okay, but my lower back really doesn't do that very well. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is give myself a little bit of a head start. Okay. Maybe not a whole bolster. Well, I have a whole bolster, so I'll do that. And I'm putting my lower back, or my lower back sacrum up on this bolster to give myself a little bit of a head start in getting my legs toward being parallel with the ceiling, okay? And then you have to imagine, could you do that eventually, maybe move the bolster a little bit away and pull in again, okay? So let's try that. If you feel like you don't need the support of the bolster, that's fine. Okay. Some people's backs do that automatically. Okay. And then again, still keep your legs straight. And you're really trying to pull your legs in. So you can reach your feet now, Pratima. So get your feet and pull your legs in. That's not bad, Marcia. Just now, can you keep your legs where they are, but can you lower your buttocks a little bit to the floor? So yeah, like that. Melinda, that's pretty good. Just keep your legs straight. Okay. Nice, Vicki. Good, Ryan. Good, Bob. Pull your legs in a little bit more. Nice, Karen Higgins. Okay, and then come all the way out of the pose. Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana 2. All right, then everyone go ahead and sit, because we sort of compressed or pulled in. So just stretch your legs out wide into Upavishta Konasana. Okay. And then go ahead and turn in Upavishta Konasana in case any strain kind of came into the lower back from having done that. Inhale, lengthen up from the tailbone all the way up through the head, and exhale, turn and rotate. And turn to the other side. Remember your leg actions. And then come back to the center, and then bring your legs together. Reach forward and get your big toes. Okay, so here's the upright stage, right, of Paschimottanasana. Okay. And then there's the forward folding stage of Paschimottanasana, right? So regular Paschimottanasana has those two stages, and so did Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. Okay, that was fun. Y'all did well. It's nice to explore new poses. Any questions that we have? I don't think I've ever really taught that, particularly in those two stages. So any questions about that pose? Comments about the pose? Likes, dislikes about the pose? Ryan's giving it a thumbs up. All right, good job. Shaya's giving it a thumbs up. All right, way to go. Okay.
On the first pose, I'm not able to avoid lifting the buttocks, so it's automatically.
Yeah. You could try putting your like a folded blanket underneath your sacrum in that first stage and see if that helps you a little bit. Because it's kind of like it has a lot to do with just what's your body shape, right? I mean, some people have a rounder lower back, and you can see what Vicky's doing is she's rolling back and forth. There you go. To try and get into the pose. So I have a much easier time with the first pose. Okay? And it's much harder for my back to do that rounding action, but you just have a different body shape. And so the first one is harder for you, and it was easier for you probably to do the second part, right? So good observation. All right, let's work on another little new thing I've been working on lately. Okay, here it is. You're gonna, well, here's my foot. So remember, I'm thinking about this in terms of inversions. A lot of times when we are in an inversion, the foot kind of sickles and you don't get the extension through the inner heel. So sometimes I say flex the foot back to get extension through the inner heel. But then you have to keep that and point the foot a little bit, right? That makes sense? So we're gonna try that. I'm going toward Supta Padangusthasana 2. But first we're gonna bend your knees and bring one leg out to the side, kind of like you were doing half happy baby pose. Okay. So my knee is out pretty wide, so it's actually not touching my abdomen, okay, that much. But first I'm gonna pull down with my fingers and get that extension through the inner heel, but then I'm gonna really make sure that I'm pushing that big toe into my fingers, okay? And you'll feel an opening coming in the groin when you do that. Okay. All right, so just try that a few times. Lie down on the floor. I don't think you will need a strap, but if for some reason you, with that leg that bent, you still couldn't get your big toes, you could use the strap, okay? All right, so With the left leg bent, bring the right leg up. Move the knee off to the side. And it's not like you're really trying to push the leg all the way down to the floor, though you could do that if you're so inclined. What I'm more interested in is you feeling that action in the feet moving from that super flexed toward the, sometimes we call flointed. Right? And you should feel it release in the groin and then the outer hip. Right? Okay, pretty good. Switch sides. And remember the official big toe gripping, finger grip, and then you put your thumb over your fingers. It is okay to pull the toes down at first, okay? In some poses, we really do that. And the good thing of pulling that toes down is you can really see that length coming into the inner foot. Now maintain that length in the inner foot as much as you can and extend through the big toe side of your foot by pushing the big toe against your fingers. Yeah, that looks pretty good, everyone. Okay. All right, that was good. And then release, come out of the pose. Okay. Same thing, except we're gonna add the bottom leg. Okay. So you've got this leg bent. Okay. If it's too much on the lower back, you can do that. Okay. And then you're gonna try and straighten the leg out and push through both big toes with the bottom leg straight. And you'll feel a lot of opening in that front groin. A good modification for this and doing this would be like Supta Baddha Konasana, laying back on a bolster with head support. Okay, you'd be getting that similar opening in the groin. Okay, so try extending the legs. Well, you can start off with the legs bent. Do your first side again. Hook your big toe with your two fingers and your thumb over your two big fingers. Now you can bring the knee down as much as you want to. And Supta Baddha Konasana is an excellent alternative. But then extend, really push your big toe into your fingers. Okay. Feel that opening in the hip. Now straighten your left leg out and really feel that opening in the groin, right? And then extend through the big toe side of the foot of the down leg also. Okay. A little bit more push through the big toe side of your foot, most of you. Keep the leg a little bit more bent, Karen Higgins, both, yeah, there you go, good. Okay, good job. Release, do the second side. Oh. Feel the opening in the groin. Okay, so half happy baby. Yes, you can try and get the knee down toward the floor, but the more important thing I want you to feel is this interrelationship between the big toe and the fingers. Okay. Then straighten your bottom leg out. That looks good, everyone, I can see. A little bit more big toe, Karen Higgins. Good, Melinda. That looks good, Sugi. All right, everyone looks good that I can see. All right, and then release and come all the way up, out. Okay. Roll to your side and watch the next stage demo. Okay. Supta Padangusthasana is similar work, but for Supta Padangusthasana 2, you can support your outer hip if you need to. But you're going to come into that stage, and I don't want anyone to use a belt. Well, I mean, you can use a belt. I don't want to be rigid about it. You're going to do, and you're going to try and keep that extension as you reach out into Supta Padangusthasana 2. And really, even here, you can see I'm pulling my big toe back. I want to extend through the big toe. Yeah. All right, and you'll feel opening on the groin. A good modification or backing off would just be put a bolster underneath your outer hip if you don't want to work as actively in that region. Okay, so let's try it. Lay down on the floor. If you really can't hold your foot and straighten out your leg, it's okay. You can use a strap, but it's really nice work to kind of develop the strength in both the big toe and the fingers, which you don't quite get when you're using the strap. Okay, so straighten your left leg out. Bring the right leg up into half happy baby first. Okay. There you go. Move the foot up to the ceiling. Now extend through that big toe. And then from there, stretch out into Supta Padangusthasana 2. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Vicki. Good. Now keep it. Now what will probably tend to happen is you're going to start pulling on the big toe but can you lengthen through the big toe side of the foot, even if your leg isn't entirely straight? And feel that opening and extension that really comes through the inner leg. Nice, Skay and Cliff. Good. Okay, good job, everyone. Come all the way back up. Do the second side. Straighten your right leg out. Feel the opening in the groin that's coming. Bring your opposite leg up. Get your big toe. Okay, start off in that half happy baby. Create that nice resistance between the fingers and the big toe. And then from there, stretch your leg out into Supta Padangusthasana 2. Even if your leg doesn't get completely straight, okay, and you're not using the strap, it's okay. Keep extending through that big toe side of the foot as you do it, okay? Very nice. Straighten that bottom leg, Chai, a little bit more if you can. A little bit more Pratima extension through that big toe side of the foot. All right, release, come all the way up, roll over onto your side. Guess what we're doing? Downward facing dog. So that was even more groin work. And it's also good work on the fingers, right? So see if you have a little bit better connection with your hands and the floor from having worked on the gripping action. The gripping action actually gives you more ability to spread. The more you can spread the fingers, it should also improve your gripping action. Now think about the feet with respect to what we just did. Okay, so you're going to come up onto the balls of the feet. Okay, really press down through those big toe base joints. Okay, open the arches and then roll over the balls of the feet and reach those heels as far back away from the big toes as you can, and feel how that whole torso just gets pulled along. And what I'm really feeling in terms of the groin work is that my abdomen is really naturally drawing in. I'm getting this really good sense of Uddiyana Bandha, which I can intensify with the breath. And that's happening largely because there's a little bit more freedom in the groin. When you get the groins a little bit more open, they're kind of less stuck, let's say, with the abdomen. All right, then come all the way back up, or walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones, roll your shoulder bones back, and come all the way up. And go ahead and stand up. Be in Tadasana first. Observe the effect of your Tadasana. Observe the effect of all the floor work and the hip opening on your Baddha Konasana. On your Tadasana, Baddha Konasana. All right. Oops, my head is not showing. All right, so stand in Tadasana. Again, observe that effect. The effect that I feel is really compaction in the outer hips, opening in the front groin, and I do feel some nice lift in the chest as a result. Okay, now we're going to work on a couple of standing poses. You're welcome to take the support of the wall if you need it, or work with them, or height, or chair. Actually, if you have your chair, go ahead and get your chair. We can all actually work with the chair. It's kind of nice to use it sometimes. So I've got the chair here. And I'm going to turn it this way. Then I'm going to bring my legs out into Upadhisha Konasana, turn the leg, extend through that big toe, draw up from the little toe into the outer hips. And then I'm going to bring my elbow, I'm going to bring my hand just down to the chair first. And when I'm up this high, it's really nice because I can really get some length in the underneath side of my body. And as a result, I can really turn. Okay? So I'm really turning my torso here. And then I can add my arm. Okay, so we're all going to do the chair first. And stand a little bit wider. Okay? Feels really good. It feels really good to press down with the hand on the chair too. Okay, so try chair Trikonasana. Okay. Stand with your feet out wide. It's a lot of height. But take advantage of that height. Turn your feet. Okay. Bring your hand down to the chair. Okay. Usually you can get a little bit wider stance when you're this wide. That is really nice opening, Karen Higgins. Spread your palms like you're doing downward facing dog in the chair. Very good, Vicki. That's really looking nice. Lengthen through both sides of the torso, a little bit more width between the feet, Amelia and Melinda. And then turn your torso as much as you can toward the screen, toward the front of the room, toward the front of your mat. If you haven't already, then add your hands. Yeah, that's it. Very good. That looks good, Kristen. Very nice. Lengthen through the side ribs and turn and rotate. You can also, you don't have to lift your hand up. All right, and then that looks great. Everyone come all the way back up. All right, turn and do the other side. I will do the other side with you. I really felt by taking that extra height, I really got some nice additional release in the groin. Turn your feet, press through that big toe like we had the strap on still, pull up from the little toe side of the foot into the outer hip, and just tip over and bring your hand to the chair. Bring the side a little bit wider apart, lengthen through that side rib, and really taking advantage of the height. So you're really turning that torso away from the strong work of your legs. And then you can add your top arm. Okay. If it bothers your neck or your shoulders or it's just tiring, you can bring your hand down to the side and turn again. Okay. All right, good job. Come all the way up. Okay. You can stay there, or let's go down to the tall brick. We're actually going to go from lots of height all the way down to the floor in these Trikonasanas. But you can always back off if you don't want to go any lower. But the main thing is that each sort of stage along the way, you want to try and recapture that ability to turn forward. And so what we're going to do, we're going to do it all on one side first. Okay? You're going to come into tall brick and really make sure you're turning like you're still on the chair. Okay? You can add your arm. Then we're going to come down to a lower brick. It's going to be harder to turn, but try and do it. Then the third brick shape, and then finally we're going to try and go all the way down to the floor, okay? Because that is the pose. Let's try it. Everybody start with your feet out wide and tall brick. Turn your feet. And then everyone get a little bit wider stance, Melinda. Find to use the support of the wall also. Yeah, you got that wall there, Bob. And you can also, with this, if you're using a rope wall, you can lift up and reach with your top hand. Okay, so tall brick. And then try and remember that turning from the chair. That looks really good. All right, then come up. You're going to lower your brick one dimension. Probably could, that's it. And you're going to go down again. Now as you go down to the lower height, can you keep turning your torso toward me on the way down? Okay, nice. Now get length through both sides of the torso and turn. Straighten your front leg, Chaya. There you go, then come all the way back up. That looks good, Kirsten. Good, Sugi. All right, now lower the brick one more. Okay. So it's flat now. It should be flat, I think, right? Okay, so it's got 3 dimensions. Try again. Keep turning your torso. You don't have to stay long. Okay. Down toward the floor. Good. Keep trying to turn toward me. All right, then grand finale pose. Come all the way back up. See if you can get your hand actually all the way down to the floor. Now, knowing that it's lower, the tendency is going to be really to drop the torso down to the floor. So proactively turn, almost like you're doing a back bend as you're coming into Trikonasana. And say, hey, there is, but don't let your head hang. Okay? Turn your head up. That's it. Very good. Now stretch your arms apart from each other. Yes, there you go. There's the floor, or close to the floor. And then press into your back heel and come all the way up. Turn your feet back to the center. Stand in Tadasana. And so, that was a lot of Trikonasana on one side. So before we do the other side, stand in Tadasana and get a little feeling of the effect of all of that turning and groin work opening. All right, now we're going to do the other side. So you're going to start on your tallest brick support, medium brick support, low brick support, and then you're going to try and go all the way to the floor. So 4 Trikonasanas in a row. Just going a little bit lower each time. There you go. So start with your feet out wide. I can really feel that groin opening work of the front right leg. And here I am on tall brick. Yeah. And turn your torso, and you can add your arms if you want to. Okay. I have a really soft, not soft, but light brick. So I can actually come up with my brick, change it to the next position, and go down with the brick in my hand. That would be harder to do if you have a wooden brick. But if you have a foam brick, you can actually try that. Okay. But I really want to turn, extend my arms away from each other, push into the back leg and come up. Okay. Now I have flat brick. It's a little hard to hold. Okay. But I come down into flat brick, spread your palm well like downward facing dog, turn your torso, extend up through the ring fingers, and then grand finale Trikonasana, trying to go all the way to the classic pose. Press into your back heel, proactively turn. In fact, you can even like twist a little bit so your body is moving back away from the wall. So then when you go over, maybe you'll be able to maintain that height. Maybe you'll make it to your ankle. Maybe you'll make it to your fingertips. Maybe you'll make it all the way with your feet flat on, sorry, your arm flat on the floor. Yeah, these look great. These look like really good triangles. All right, press into your back heel, reach with your top arm and come all the way up. Turn your feet, walk your feet in, and get your chair again and a couple bricks. I think we've done this, but it's been a while. You can also work with the chair support in Trikonasana, but it's a little different. Usually we sit on the chair. Right? And for many years when I had learned this, I was taught it just sitting on the chair itself. But I've never felt like that's worked super well for me. I think it's partly just the shape of the length of my femur bones, and the chair is kind of too big for it. So actually, as I'm looking at myself right now, it's not too bad. Yeah, so this would be Virabhadrasana 2 you could do. And I was taking a class with an Italian teacher, David Bologna, a while back, and he had a different setup for it. He's a very short person, like I am. He actually put a brick on the chair. Then you sit on the brick, okay, on your sitting bones on the brick. I have to, at this point, raise my foot up, and then I actually get a lot more groin release. My back leg isn't really kind of stuck by the chair, and it feels really good. And it's kind of like that Upavishta Konasana. I said there was a support from underneath. You can actually release the groin a little bit more. So we're just going to do this in Virabhadrasana 2, actually, and really work on getting this length in the sides of the torso. And then you can work to stretch the arms out. And then turn your head. Okay, so Virabhadrasana 2 with the chair and the brick support. You can see for yourself also just, actually, why don't we all do that? Everyone sit on the chair first without the brick. Okay? So you can feel the difference. Now, I would say some of you with longer legs, the chair may work just fine, okay, in and of itself. Okay? But feel what you feel. Okay? Both in the front groin leg, but also in the back groin leg. Try and get as upright as you can. And you can add your arms. Just try Virabhadrasana 2 here. We'll sneak another Vira 2 in. Good. Okay, now try it with the brick on the same side. Put the brick underneath your sitting bone. Now you may also need, at this point, if you're, you're gonna need a brick underneath your foot, Vicki. And if you can't get your what is it called, thigh bone parallel with the floor, okay, then when you're on the brick, then you may need to put a brick underneath your foot. Those of you who are taller probably won't need the brick underneath your foot. Okay. All right, that good. And don't you feel more opening in the groin? Okay. More ability to stay straight? Yeah, Chaya's giving me the thumbs up. Okay, this looks good. Now turn your torso toward the screen a little bit more. Stretch your arms out. And then turn to look over the bent leg arm. Pratima, move your torso weight a little bit further back toward your back leg. These look good. Virabhadrasana 2, beautiful, Kristen. Really nice arm extension. Okay, good job. Come out of that pose. Melinda, a little bit, I think you could move your brick a tiny bit more towards your knees. Okay, your knee, okay? All right,
And
the second side.
I've got a question, Ann.
Yeah.
On the straight leg, the back leg, I have trouble putting the board, the exterior board of my foot on the floor.
You can't?
It's difficult. I'm trying to.
Okay.
But,
try turning the foot in a little bit more and see if that helps.
okay. So it's not the bent leg, it's the other leg.
For you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a brick, Karen, underneath your front knee?
Underneath my front
foot. Do you have a brick underneath the front foot?
No.
Try it and see if that actually helps. Okay.
Okay.
You okay there, Kristen? So, all right, good. Okay. All right, try your second side. If you want to run the experiment again, you can. Okay. Without the brick and then with the brick. Sugi.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to say even if you're tall, Sugi, move the brick more where it's closer to your front knee. You have it a little too far back. Good, okay. All right, and then you can try with the brick. Chaya, that looks really good. That was really nice extension in your legs. Yeah, that looks good, Karen.
Feels good.
Yeah, I really like that support from underneath, the sitting bone from underneath support. It really lets my groin release a lot more. All right, good job, everyone. Come out of the pose and stand in Tadasana so you can feel all that nice extension in the front groin from having done that brick work. You can also do that in Virabhadrasana 1, by the way. You're just not going in that particular direction, and it feels also really pretty good. Okay. All right, one more standing pose, and then we'll do our upside downs or toward upside downs. Okay. All right, and so standing pose is Ardha Chandrasana. Okay. And you can use the chair for Ardha Chandrasana also. Okay. You can also use the support of the wall. You have ropes, you can use the ropes. Okay. But with Ardha Chandrasana, you can bring your elbow down to the chair, okay? And your heel can stay at the wall, and you can really turn in Ardha Chandrasana and then lift your top arm up. All right, so try Ardha Chandrasana with the chair. Or if you want to go to a more classic version of the pose, feel free. But the main thing is you want to get that same turn that we've been working on basically all class. Okay? So we're trying to separate the movement of the pelvis and the torso by working on getting opening in the groin. Okay? All right, so try chair or all the way to the floor, Ardha Chandrasana, whichever you want. Okay? That's good, Cliff. Looks really good. Just, yeah, good, Cliff. Just lift your top leg up a little bit more. Good, Chaya. Nice, Bob. Good, Ryan. Good, Amelia. Good, Melinda. Good, Sugi, Karen, Kristen, Radhika, and Karen C. I'm sure it's also awesome. Come down onto your elbow on the chair, Pratima. There you go. Good. And you can kind of grip the chair with your hand and help yourself turn more. That looks good, Vicky. Okay, very good. Release, come out of the pose, do your second side. Last nice standing pose of the day. Some of you have been talking about what to start practicing at home. And this is this would be a pretty easy thing to replicate at home. You just do, well, I mean, you're at home. So without me in the Zoom room, though I can still be in the Zoom room with you. But the basic idea is some seated work to open the groins, try to deciding new pose, some basic standing poses that you're more familiar with, and then upside downs. And then come all the way out of the pose. I was taking a class with my main teacher, Lori, recently, and she said, as you continue to advance in your practice, okay, and you do things, it's good to try something each practice that's kind of hard for you, right? Because you approach it more with, like, quote unquote, the mind of a beginner, right? and you have that experience, but then you go back to things that you know and are more familiar with, and you have a very different mindset with respect to the poses that are more familiar. And so you probably felt some of that today because we don't normally do Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana too, but we do standing poses all the time, right? Okay, one more downward facing dog, preparing for the inversion part of class. You're welcome to use your chair and put your hands on the chair in downward facing dog. Since the chair is out and the chair is nice. Or you can just do downward facing dog at the floor. Or you can use your hands on bricks. But feel the difference of this downward facing dog after the standing pose work. Standing pose work where we really worked on opening the torso. Walk your feet further back, Chaya. Nice, Melinda. That's really coming along. Yeah. Melinda, look up with your head for a second. Okay. Yeah, and then take your thoracic spine in a little bit more. Okay. There you go. Then let your head hang. Yes, that's it. You're getting there. Good, Sugi. A little bit, Sugi. It looks like you're over straightening the left elbow. All right, nice. Okay, walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Okay. Let's do a Prasarita Padottanasana. We're going to work with the hand position. So you're going to come into the first concave stage, turn the palms, back to there. Then we'll move the hands back. Then we'll do Shirshasana 2. Then we'll do with hands and ankles. Okay. Or you can just stay in the concave stage of the pose. All right. Okay, ready? So Prasarita Padottanasana, working through all the various hand positions. Now, when you bring your legs out wide for Prasarita Padottanasana, you're really probably going to feel a lot of the payoff of all of the work we did of getting the groins open today. So it should feel really free and spacious. You can also work with your hands on bricks, even if you touch the floor. Sometimes I do that because it gives me a lot of extension through that front of the body. Spread your palms well. Keep your leg action strong. Turn your fingers away from each other and notice how that turns the shoulder bone in the socket. Spread your toes well. Keep your quadriceps lifted. Now turn your fingers back like we're going to do Adho Mukha Vrikshasana 3. We're not going to do that today, but we're planting the seeds for it. Then turn your hands back to the classic position. Lengthen from the front of the body through the collarbone. Now walk your hands back where they're in line with your feet as much as you can. Spread the fingers and just get that nice stretch in the back of the wrist if you can. Yeah. If it's too much for you, you can move your hands a little bit further forward. Then bend your elbows and put your head on the floor. Press the palms down, spread them, and lift the shoulders up. Planting seeds for Shirshasana 2. Then move your hands out wide where they're on the ankles. And now you've got that nice width in the collarbones. You keep your shoulders lifted. If your head doesn't touch the floor, it's okay. You can put something underneath it, but last week Abhijata said, if your head doesn't touch the floor, it doesn't touch the floor. Okay. What a relief. All right, okay. All right, now backtrack with your hands. So come back to Shirshasana 2, keeping the collarbones broad. That's it. Then straighten the arms and look forward. So you're in a classic concave shape. Then bring your hands underneath your shoulders. You can wiggle your feet in a little bit if you need to. And then come all the way up. Good. And then stand in Tadasana again. Okay, then set up for Shirshasana, or whatever you do when Shirshasana rolls around. You know, that can be chair if you have 2 chairs. It could be chair Shirshasana. If you have ropes, it could be rope Shirshasana. It could be headless headstand prep. It could be headed headstand prep. It could also be chair Dvipada Viparita Dandasana if you were on your cycle. Yeah. And interlace your fingers behind your head. Melinda's cat is coming to check her out. Nice, Chaya. Look forward, Chaya, a little bit with your head and get your thoracic spine to go in more. There you go. Yeah, good. And then let your head hang from there. That's really a lot of nice work in the arm, Chaya. It's really good. Okay, good, Vicky. That looks pretty good, Amelia. Right on the money from what I can see. Ryan, you're just doing the prep. Sugi, your legs are going a little bit too much to your right. Okay, so move them over away from. Yeah, a little bit more other way. There you go. Perfect. Now think back on our foot action. All right, way back at what we worked out at the beginning of class. Go ahead and lift your shoulders up, Cliff, a little bit more. All right, flex your feet, okay? And then like you had your big toes, holding onto your big toes, push a little bit more through the big toe side of the foot. And feel how that opens the front groin more. That looks good, Karen Higgins, good Pratima. A little bit more inner heel Pratima. Okay, those of you, if you need to rest and come down, come down. Okay. If you want to have time to do, if you want to do Ekapada Shirshasana, and then particularly Parshva Ekapada Shirshasana, where your leg goes off to the side. Okay, you can do that. And if you need to come down and rest, you could also do Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana, so you can go into downward facing dog, and extend one leg out. And I'd just try, after you've done that one, just try putting your head on the floor, okay? Because your shoulders are getting really open. Then just see if you can walk in a little bit, okay? All right, so the inversion and the variation in the inversion, after that, it's really the same poses that we worked on all class, you're just upside down. But if you're, not doing that, you can still get some good work by doing one-legged downward facing dog. It's very similar. It's really nice feeling pose after all the work we did. All right. You're gonna finish your inversion. You're gonna finish your variations, and then everyone's gonna come down and rest in downward facing child's pose. Okay, that's a nice option too, Gay. That looks good, Shaya. That looks great. Yep. Let's take that thoracic spine in a little bit more, but that's really coming along. Okay, good, Pratima. Nice, Sugi. That's also a nice variation. Baddha Konasana is what Sugi's doing. All right, then everyone come out and rest in downward facing child's pose. Keep your toes together, your knees wide apart, and then just fold forward. I personally, as you know, like to put a brick underneath my forehead after doing this pose from the inversion perspective. Okay, then sit up. Then everyone's you have a choice. Okay, you can do, actually, we're all gonna do this first. Get your bolster. Okay, we have enough time. We're all gonna do bolster Setubandha with our feet on bricks, okay? So I'm gonna move my setup so you can see the setup I'm making. Sorry, my room was a little bit crooked there. All right, so here's my bolster. I think we did this last week. If you know the pose, you can go ahead and do it. I'm not sure all of you know it. And then I have my bricks for my feet. And I am lately really liking to work with a blanket roll underneath my neck. Okay? So I have it ready where it's right here. Okay? Then what you do is you sit on the bolster, lay down on the bolster, roll off the bolster until your shoulders are down on the floor, your neck is supported by the blanket roll, and then you straighten your legs out. Okay, so it's a really nice feeling bolster Setubandha. Yes, it feels nice to me. Okay. Or you can do a chair Sarvangasana if the Setubandha is not working for you. Okay, so this pose really prepares the body or gives the body a lot of the same work as Sarvangasana, shoulder stand. Okay. In terms of the Jalandhara Bandha, bringing the chin down to the chest. Okay. There we go. Or chin up to the chest, I guess you'd say. Slide a little bit more off cliff till your shoulders are on the floor. Even if you might have to move your bricks and stuff. Yeah, Siggy, you still want to get the shoulders on the floor, so you may need to get the shoulders down. And if you don't like the blanket roll, you don't have to use it. Okay. I just find it really relaxes my sides of my neck nicely. Okay. Okay. If you're comfortable here and you want to stay here for another couple minutes, you can. We've got about 7 minutes left in class. Okay. So you can either come out, set up for a chair Sarvangasana or regular Sarvangasana or legs at the wall pose. Okay. And then we'll do Shavasana. But if you're comfortable here and you want to stay here for that second to last pose, you can do that. Okay. It's a really nice pose to build up your capacity to stay in. Okay. It's good. It regulates lots of things. I mean, it's good for both high and low blood pressure. It's good for high and low thyroid kinds of things. It's Mr. Iyengar referred to it as God's gift to humanity. So we may as well appreciate the gift. But if you want to do a little bit more in the inversion orientation, you can do legs up the wall pose or chair Sarvangasana or regular Sarvangasana. A lot of you have chosen to stay in this pose, which is totally fine. So I think that decision is you clearly were sensing, or some part of you was sensing the real benefit of it, of staying in it a little bit longer. That looks pretty good, Melinda. Melinda, bring your feet back down to the floor and see if you can tuck your shoulders more. That's it. Get your hands a little bit more down your shoulder blades if you can. Okay. And then bring your legs back up. That was a good adjustment, Melinda. All right. Marcia, you just stay there for another, like a couple minutes, and then when you're, or 2 or 3 minutes since you just got in. But everyone else who's now in Satubandha, go ahead and bend your knees, slide toward your head side, and set up for whatever version of Shavasana speaks to you. Melinda, you can stay another minute if you want, and then roll out of Halasana, into Halasana. I will just mention, that Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana 2 that we did at the beginning of class, those of you in Sarvangasana, you can practice that coming out of Halasana, right? Because your buttocks are already elevated, and it's a nice way of easing down into the pose. So just like we practice Urdhva Dandasana sometimes on the way out of shoulder stand, of headstand, you can practice that here too. Okay, so set up for Shavasana. Marcia, that looks great. Really good leg action, really good verticality. All right, Shavasana, corpse pose. Lie down on the floor, tuck your shoulders underneath you. Make sure your buttock flesh is moving toward your feet, and then do Shavasana. Let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet within. Be in the space of the Shavasana. I didn't say it today in the same order, but there's the experience of Shavasana where you reflect on the effect of the work, but there's also just the experience of being in Shavasana. And those are two very different mental activities. Yoga gives us the possibility to practice both anytime we do Shavasana. The observing mind, the reflective mind, and the experiential mind. We have all of those, let's say, aspects of practice. And then whatever aspect of your own true splendor you are experiencing in Shavasana, consciously use your inhalations to bring that awareness of your true self with you as you go about your work in the world. Place your hands on your rib cage, bend your knees, roll over to your right side, and use your hands to push yourself back up. Sit up straight and tall, lift your chest well, close your eyes and fold your palms together at your heart. Again, reflect, observe the effect that your practice has on you. Observe it on every layer of your being, from the physical to the most deeply spiritual. And in gratitude to what benefit you receive from your practice of yoga, in gratitude to the people I have the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with, and in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, as practiced by BKS Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India, and down through a line of teachers and students to you, here on the mat, in Austin, Texas, or Paris, France, wherever you happen to be in the world, through the miracle of Zoom. Namaste.